The Essendon injury list is out, as it is every Tuesday, and we also have some updates on Jye Caldwell and Zach Reid in regards to surgery. We're going to go through what it all means right now in this video. So Jye Caldwell suffered an ankle injury late in the game against the Gold Coast. He hobbled off with an ankle injury that looked kind of nasty, and he went in for scans on Sunday. His ankle was sort of caught beneath him in a tackle, which was kind of unfortunate, and it's confirmed that he has a syndesmosis injury. So the full extent of the injury will be known a little bit later. A timeline has yet to be determined for his return, and the club has actually said that they will have a better idea of his recovery once he's actually had the surgery. He's obviously a really good player, a professional, and he is going to go into rehab. And apparently Jye Caldwell himself wants to still return this season, although it would only be for the last couple of rounds, you would imagine. So there's no actual time frame yet, but it's not officially season over for Jye. Caldwell's absence, of course, along with Darcy Parish, obviously opens the door for Elijah Sartis to potentially come into the team. He was pretty close to playing on the weekend against the Gold Coast. He was on the phone with Brad Scott about potentially being a late in, with the late injury scare to Xavier Dersma, even though Dersma played in the match. So obviously there's a big chance now that Elijah Sartis comes into the team this week. If you like this content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps the YouTube algorithm when you do that. It only takes 1 second to do so. And of course it's free. And even if you are subscribed, make sure you hit the notification bell, because it will ensure that you are notified whenever I post a video. So I'd appreciate it if you could do that right now. So Zach Reid experienced some hamstring awareness towards the end of the training session last Wednesday, as we all know. And the follow-up scans confirmed he had a minor hamstring strain. So even though this is a minor strain, it is a pretty big deal because it's a recurring injury to a player that does have a long history of injuries. So obviously you want to make sure that you get this 100% right and you don't take any risks with it. There's issues with things like scar tissue, which makes it more likely to re-injure your hamstring when you have soft tissue injuries. Players do it and then they're more likely to do it again. So you really just got to make sure you get this right. So a surgical consultation was conducted, and it was determined that surgery on the hamstring would be the best course of action for Reid, just to get it 100% right, or as close to 100% as you can get. That means he's going to miss the remainder of the season as a result of that surgery. So one thing Essendon is going to be doing, the Bombers are going to be resurfacing one of the ovals. We have two ovals. We have one that's the shape of Marvel Stadium, one that's the shape of the MCG. They resurfaced one last year. They're going to resurface the other this year. It's going to cost them over $1 million to do so. There's been a lot of talk and suggestion that maybe the ground is what's causing the injuries. I don't think the club thinks that. I don't necessarily think that's true either. I mean, they've had the ground for a long time. But nevertheless, they're going to spend over $1 million resurfacing it anyway. The Bombers are really going to look at everything there, everything they can as to why these injuries are happening. Maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe it's a bit of bad management. Maybe it's a combination of all sorts of things. We just don't know. Another thing they're looking at, Mitch Cleary was reporting on this, the warm-ups on match day. So Essendon has been going through, what you'd call a hardcore ballistic, full-on warm-up about 60 minutes before match day. That's something they're going to look at. Is that necessary? Is that what's potentially causing injuries? Well, you couldn't say that's caused injuries at training because it's a match day thing, but is that something that, is contributing to injuries during the game, perhaps? So, once again, we don't know. If everyone knew the answer, you'd fix it. But that's another thing that they're going to look at. And it's something that is important, because if they don't at least, come up with some answers, then it's going to be hard to attract players from other clubs. No one's going to want to come to a club where players are always getting injured, and the players that are there would be disgruntled as well. So they're going to look at the oval resurfacing, they're going to look at changing the warm-ups on match day, and hopefully everything else. So hopefully, as we go into 2026, they can sort this out and minimise the damage. Nick Cox will unfortunately miss the remainder of the 2025 season. He went to the league's concussion panel, and they provided a pathway for him returning next year, but they've recommended that he's going to miss this year, that he steps away from football for the remainder of this year. So Cox did say a few things about that. He said, after meeting with an independent AFL medical panel regarding my concussion history, I'm pleased that I've been cleared to continue my playing career, he said. Whilst I'm disappointed that I won't return to the field for the remainder of the 2025 season, this time away from the game will be used to fully focus on my health, recovery and building the strongest possible foundation heading into the pre-season, he continued to say. My focus now is on continuing to work closely with specialists and the club to make sure I'm in the best place physically and mentally to return to the club. So, yeah, Nick Cox will officially miss the remainder of the year. That hadn't actually been confirmed. I think we all suspected this, that he was going to miss the remainder of the season. With the concussion thing, it's sort of a best kept secret. We all sort of knew it, but it's now officially been confirmed. But the good news is he's been cleared to continue his playing career, should he remain on the list. He's a high draft pick that we've invested a lot in, top 10 pick. So I'd like to see him have one more chance to get it right before we make a final decision on him at the end of 2026. So Mason Redman is expected to return from a hamstring injury this Saturday. He's just got to get through the main training session on Wednesday. He is listed as a test. I think he will play against the Tigers. He was actually not too far away from missing last week, but he had a sort of a separate minor hamstring complaint and didn't play. But that's responded well to treatment, and he's been training well. So, look, I think he will play on the weekend against Richmond, which will be good for our backline. Frees up Ridley a little bit more as well for that intercept defender role. Helps out Blackiston down there, who's inexperienced, to have another experienced player down there alongside him. So that'd be good. Blackiston wouldn't have played with Redmond yet, not on the field anyway. They would have trained together, but not on the field. So that is good news to have Mason Redmond most likely resuming. Jaden Nguyen, he will return for the VFL clash against Box Hill. He's had a stress fracture in the foot, so he's not listed on the injury report. He is right to resume after missing 6 weeks. Hopefully he can improve his form and maybe get a spot in the seniors. Who knows? We've had 11 debutants this year. I don't think he'll be the 12th, but if he can play well enough, who knows? Harrison Jones has the ankle injury still to be confirmed. This is similar to the Ben Mackay situation in that both he and Ben Mackay has a plantar plate issue in his foot, yet to reach the point where they can engage in full running. Until such time as they can engage in full running, you can't list a return date for them. But look, it's getting to the point where we're getting close to the end of the season, 7 matches to go. Mackay won't play, even though he's to be confirmed. He won't play. He will be out for the rest of the year. Harrison Jones is getting close to that point where I think he's probably going to miss the remainder of the year as well as we get closer. 7 weeks left. Hard to see him getting back into the team, especially given that he would have to come back through the reserves anyway. Langford, interesting one, 4 to 6 weeks still away with the quad issue. There was some reports that Langford is maybe a bit of a watch on requesting a trade, perhaps, or if not requesting a trade, at least wanting some confirmation and belief that the Essendon problems that we've had with injuries can be solved, because he's obviously frustrated. I don't know whether he blames the club for his quad injury. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I think he wants to make sure that the club is doing everything they can to get on top of the injury problems that we have. As long as he can get that confirmation from the club that the club is doing everything they can, and he's happy that the club is doing everything they can, I think he probably stays. But it is a little bit of a watch on him. There is some rumblings that he's not happy with the way the injury crisis has developed, especially given that he's a casualty of it. So it's just a bit of a watch on him. But he's 4 to 6 weeks away. So look, going by that logic, he might be able to come back for the last 1 or 2 games of the season. But for all intents and purposes, he is out for the season as well. Darcy Parish as well has a calf injury to be confirmed. All these injuries that Essendon have, they all seem to be, 4 to 6 week injuries. It's just the kind of injuries that we seem to get. Calf injuries are notoriously hard to get over. So maybe Parish, like Langford, is probably going to be back for the last couple of weeks, or possible that he could come back for the last couple of weeks. Brad Scott did actually say that when asked, is he out for the year? He said not necessarily. He's aiming to get back. But even if he does get back, it would only be for the last couple of games anyway, and wouldn't really have any impact on our team, given that, the season is essentially over and We're just really seeing how the young players are going to develop. So officially he is listed as to be confirmed. Other than that, the only other 4 injuries are the long-term season-ending ACL and Achilles injuries to Tom Edwards, Nick Bryan, Lewis Hayes and Sam Draper. So that is the injury list for the Bombers as of Tuesday the 8th of July. What do you guys think? What should we do? Who should we play in place of some of these players? The question I want to know is, if some of these players are due back in the last couple of rounds of the season and are able to be selected, do you play them, given that they would be in our best team, or do you just play the young players? And it's not as simple a question as it might seem, because the obvious answer was play the young players, but as I've said numerous times, you can't play every young player all at the same time. It's often counterproductive to that, and you can develop as a young player in the VFL. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing in the VFL and developing. So would you play players like Langford and Parish towards the end of the season? I'd like to hear what you guys think of that. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you're notified when I post a video. And as always, go Bombers!